In today's video, I'm going to walk you minute by minute through the morning routines of the world's most successful agency owners so that you're going to be able to take the things that apply to you and use them to propel your agency to the next level, as well as hopefully discard a lot of the things that are being preached and sold to the mass market as the be-all, end-all solutions of what a truly successful morning routine looks like. Because this might upset a lot of people, but the fact is that mass media books and publications and stories and all of the routines that they package up and sell to normal and average people, well, they just don't apply to us because we want more. We want better results. We want them faster, ideally, and we're willing to pay the price in order to achieve our goals and our dreams. So with that said, now that we've basically destroyed an entire industry, why don't we take a look at essentially the two different things that we need to compare and contrast against each other. The first being the average morning routine. I don't even want to say the average morning routine. The average morning routine that's being packaged and sold as the elite performers routine, and then what an actual multi-seven-figure agency owner morning routine looks like. I'll of course give you mine, what I do now, as well as what I did early on in my career that really just left me stalled and stuck and stagnant. And of course, the routine that I have now, unsurprisingly, you'll find that this is shared by most of the multimillionaire, decamillionaire, centimillionaire people that you see online or you hear about, you see their courses and programs and so on and so forth. But regardless, I think we've got to break this down into sort of three different categories. The first of which is the average person. The average person's morning routine is wake up and stumble around, hit the snooze button a few times, and drag themselves to work doing what they absolutely hate. So I think what we could say is wake up exhausted, and then we'll say snooze button. Prepare to be amazed at my kindergarten level handwriting. We're going to say snooze button, 2 to 3 times. They're going to wake up with minimal time to spare before actually having to get ready. So if they're working like a 9-to-5 job, they're going to wake up at like 7:30 and maybe 8 and grab a coffee or a donut or a bagel or nothing and just like race out the door, have a quick shower, get to work, exhausted, frantic. All of this, by the way, is a direct result of waking up the night before. So that's the average person's morning routine. I guarantee you know this is familiar. If this isn't the life that you used to lead, it's certainly friends and family and people that you interact with. We see this all the time. Now, the next one, I'm going to call the high performer. And I'm going to say this is the advertised method. And the reason that we need to separate these is because there's a very big difference between what people are claiming is the ideal morning routine and then what actually is in the real world. So under the high performer, the advertised morning routine, you're going to see things like wake up early, usually really early, ridiculously early. We'll get to that in a minute. You're going to see things like reading, journaling. There's got to be some meditation in there. There's going to be exercise. And there's either going to be some kind of nutrition / fasting, intermittent fasting. We'll say IF here, depending on whatever school of thought we're currently subscribed to. Now, none of these are inherently bad things. They're all valuable things that are actually going to set your mind right and help put you in the right frame of reference and get you sort of moving on in the right path. And clearly, there's a huge difference between like our average person over here who wakes up just scrambled and wondering what happened to them and why they feel like they got hit by a truck last night, and the high performer, the advertised version, which for the record, I followed this system for years. Woke up early, did all my reading, studied, journaled, meditated, did all of my exercise, by the book, etc., etc. And it worked, sort of. See, the problem is that success is essentially it's a subjective term. So when we say that, yes, this worked really well for me and I'm incredibly successful because I made 6 figures, well, there's a 7-figure earner who's looking at that being like, yeah, okay, you can do better. And if you say, I did all of this and I made 7 figures, well, you're going to see a multi-7-figure earner say, yeah, but you could have done more. And the same thing goes on. You make 5 mil a year, you're going to have someone who made 10 mil being like, yeah, but you could probably do more. And if you're at 10, someone that's at 100 said you could. So the point is that success is this subjective term. So you've got to find the system that works right for you. And the fact is that if your goal is 6-figure, multi-6-figure, 7-figure agency, multi-7-figure, world domination, et cetera, this path just doesn't work. And the reason is this. Time. That's it. That's the killer of all of this. This thing, I don't care who you are or how fast you go through it, like waking up early, sure, that takes no time. Reading, well, if you want to get anything out of it, sure, you can just like skim a few pages, but it's going to take some time. Like you probably want to spend minimum 15 to 30 minutes in it, maybe up to an hour if you're really trying to learn something, but we'll say 30 minutes. Journaling, you can do this in like, say, 15 minutes. Meditation depends on who you ask, but if you're really serious about it and you're trying to get all of the maximum benefits, they're going to suggest sessions of 10 to 20 minutes, kind of at a minimum 2 to 3 times a day. I'm just going to put 20 minutes here anyway. Exercise, we're going to say an hour, and nutrition, well, that doesn't take a lot of time. So let's add this up. We've got like 30, 45, 55, 65. We're just going to say that's 60. So like 2 hours. I think it's like 2 hours and 5 minutes, but give or take. So now, our morning routine is 2 hours. So if you wake up at say 6 a.m. because you're an early riser and you do this whole routine, that means by 8 a.m. you may or may not be in peak physical and mental condition ready to tackle the day. But I assure you, you've just wasted 2 hours that could have been spent doing very important tasks. In fact, that's going to lead me to something called RGA, but we're going to talk about that in just a second. So this was my former routine. This is the routine you're going to see preached about and talked about from a lot of very popular and influential people as well. There was Hal Elrod wrote the book, The Miracle Morning. There's Robin Sharma, and it's the 5 a.m. Club, I think. There's basically anything. Aubrey Marcus has something similar, co-founder of On It. There's, who else is talking about morning routines right now? There is, of course, Andrew Huberman, although I like basically all of his stuff. I like all of these guys' stuff, to be honest. Andrew Huberman has a slightly more realistic approach of waking up, getting some water, getting sunlight in your eyes, et cetera, so we can do that a lot quicker, getting some exercise. But that's it. So now I want to show you that if this is what's being prescribed, this is what actual successful people do. By the way, ain't going to be glamorous. Wake up, get to work. That's it. That's the system. I don't care if you wake up at 4 a.m., 5 a.m., 6 a.m., 12 noon, 2 p.m. I really don't care. The time you wake up is basically irrelevant. As long as you're getting 7 to 8 hours of sleep a night, you're making sure that you're actually looking after yourself physically. The time you wake up is totally dependent on what kind of a person you are. There's a great book called When, and it basically breaks people down into different types of people: night owls, larks, lions, whatever it is. But the fact is that while most people do operate well in a normal schedule, that kind of like traditional 9 to 5 schedule of, say, wake up at 7 and go to bed at 10 or whatever it is, there are extreme outliers that do really, really well early in the morning and others that do really, really well late at night. For example, I tend to do incredibly well early in the morning. Almost ridiculously early. My brain functions better. I'm smarter. I get more done in 4 hours of dedicated focused time first thing in the morning, worth more than, say, 12 hours of time throughout the rest of the day. A buddy of mine, on the other hand, extreme night owl. So he'll basically go to bed at the time that I'm typically waking up. So we catch each other kind of like this middle overlap time of the day. But his brain is essentially switches on late at night, and that's when he gets his most productive work done. So the time that you do this doesn't really matter. What matters is you get out of bed and you get to work. Now, there's a number of reasons that this is incredibly important. The first of which is that it does allow you to tap into a flow state where you literally wake up and ideally, if you can like roll out of bed, have a coffee ready to go or water and just start working, your brain doesn't have chance to sort of get going in all kinds of different directions and succumb to distractions and things like that. And you tap into flow quicker so that the first 60, 90, 120 minutes of your day, 2 hours of solid time, is really high productive, valuable time for you, for your business, for everything that you want to achieve. So that's number one. Number two is you minimize distractions. So this is especially true if you're waking up early in the morning, is that typically the world is sleeping early in the morning, 4 a.m., 5 a.m., 6 a.m. This means your phone is going to be lighting up like a Christmas tree. Don't check your email, wake up, get to work, and the world isn't going to interfere, which means you're going to get your most important work done. And again, what we want to do here is we want to use the good old-fashioned Eisenhower matrix. Watch me misspell. See how this works. Eisenhower matrix, where we've got different tasks based on urgent versus important. And we're going to map all of these things out. So is something urgent and important? Is it not urgent, not important? Is it important but not urgent? Well, the point is that most of your tasks are going to be not that important, but they're going to be urgent. And by most of your tasks, I mean things that other people put on you and sort of like unload. Hard to see, but you get the point. These are going to be the things that come through in email, in direct messages, in phone calls. They're going to be all of these things that are going to be important to other people, but not you, but they're going to be delivered to you as urgent things that need your attention right now. And once you start going down this rabbit hole, coming out of it is very hard. So what you want to do is you want to focus on the important, but not urgent. This is where you mean important, not urgent. This is the kind of work like building up your business, doing your revenue generating activities, doing your outreach, sending follow-up emails, increasing your knowledge of marketing and your ability to get clients, working on content, refining your email strategy. All of these things are very important, but because no one's there screaming at you to get them done, it's up to you to do them. Well, this is where you want to do it. Basically at that time in the morning. I've run out of space, so let's keep going. So we've got flow state, we've got minimized distractions. The other thing is time is going to pass anyway. Someone told me this a long time ago when I was, make sure I write this correctly. Someone told me this a long time ago when I was looking at different options and opportunities for my business, thinking, I don't know if I want to start that because it's going to take me 2 years to get up to the necessary requirements and credentials and all the things I'm going to need to succeed. And they basically told me, they said, hey, 2 years from now, that time is going to pass anyway. So wouldn't you rather be 2 years ahead working on your business and having all of this additional revenue and all of this extra stuff that you're now able to accomplish rather than just sort of like going through the motions? So this is important because when we wake up early, we're able to get a lot of stuff done that basically we could have been spent doing reading, journaling, meditation, exercise, all of these things. But instead, we actually get incredibly valuable work done. I call it RGA, revenue generating activities. If you want to know the biggest difference between multimillionaire agency owners and those who are struggling with 1 or 2 clients and unable to get past consistent 10K months, it's this relentless focus on revenue generating activities, doing as much of them as quickly as possible and doing it all the time, consistently and predictably. And the best time to do this is when you first wake up. You just literally get to work. Also, there's another benefit, which is sort of the added confidence of when you become the kind of person that wakes up, gets to work, does these things, you're proving to yourself that you're committed to your goals and that you're worthy of actually achieving them. So a lot of times, especially in the early days, when you set a goal, you're going to feel this doubt and this sense of imposter syndrome of like, yeah, but I'm not worthy of doing it. I've never done it before. And that's natural and normal. This is why we do have the term imposter syndrome, but you don't have to accept it. And we can overcome it by essentially convincing ourselves and proving to ourselves that yes, we are worthy, and you become worthy by doing the tasks that other people avoid. So the other expression here is we do the things that others won't so that we can have the things that others never will. So that's it. Now, what does this mean for my morning routine? Well, let me map it out for you bit by bit. So 4 a.m., wake up. Normally, it's 4. Sometimes it's 4:30. Sometimes it's 3:30. If I wake up before 3:30, I try to go back to bed. Otherwise, I'm going to be tired. What this means, though, is like we're looking at like an 8:30 p.m. bedtime, which sounds extreme. And it sounds extreme because it is extreme. And when I first started doing this, people thought I was crazy and I had to say no to a lot of social obligations and a lot of other things, but I made a lot more money. So there's a trade-off. Now what I do is instead of going out on the evenings, I'll see friends and do social activities on the weekends. Saturday afternoon is perfect. We'll go do all kinds of different sports on Saturday morning and then hang out and barbecues later that day and so on and so forth. So lots of different options. So 4 a.m., wake up, and unsurprisingly, work. Literally, get right to work. So wake up, 4 a.m., start working within a couple minutes. And what I'll do is I'll work right through to about 5:30 a.m. Now, there's caveats. If for some reason I wake up and my head is just a mess and I'm not in a good state and I don't know what's going on and I'm frustrated and I've got a problem that I couldn't figure out the night before or anything like that, I will do two things to sort of kickstart myself. The first of which is I will do a real quick journal session, and it'll be like 10 to 15 minutes. And what I'll do here is I'll sit down and I'll ask myself, what's the problem I'm working on? What are possible solutions to it? Who can I get help from? What is the next opportunity that I need to take advantage of? What other things should I be considering that I haven't thought of yet? What can I do today to do whatever else and accomplish, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. On and on. What do I want my life to look like? There's all kinds of different journal prompts you can use, but the goal is to get the thoughts out of your head and onto the piece of paper. The other thing that I do pretty much relentlessly, whether I do it the morning of or the night before, is I plan out my day hour by hour. Normally in 15 to 30 minute increments, but every single thing is planned. So that way, when I sit down and I'm ready to work, I know exactly what I'm going to do. And this means I don't get distracted and start going down random rabbit holes or end up on social media or answering emails as a form of productive procrastination. It also means that I don't get sidetracked by things that are NRGAs, non-revenue generating activities, which for the record are most things. Pareto's principle, the 80-20 rule, 20% of causes lead to 80% of effects. Well, 20% of your activities are going to be RGAs, revenue generating activities. By the way, this has to do literally with just two things called GTKT. I'll unpack that in a second. And then 80% are non-RGAs. These are like email, social, updating your website, logo, content, all kinds of other stuff. GTKT, get them, keep them. Your goal as an agency owner to make massive amounts of money is you need to get appointments and you need to keep clients. That's it. That's the whole business model in a nutshell. We need to do everything you can to get in front of potential clients and prospects, have an appointment, a sales call, a consultation, a demo with them. Then once they sign on with you, you need to do everything in your power to get them the absolute best results possible. So they retain longer. You basically minimize churn. They refer all of their friends. They love you, love what you do, love everything about you, tell everyone how great you are. Life just gets a whole lot better. So anyway, that's what we need to focus on. Are we doing our outreach? Are we sending enough emails? Are we making enough calls? Are we making enough contacts? Are we moving them through the funnel? Are we sending enough audits? So on and so forth. So that's what happens for an hour and a half. At 5:30 a.m., then it's workout. I've tried every different kind of exercise routine over the past my entire life. I found that for me, some kind of powerlifting routine tends to work best. So a heavy weight lifted and put down in a controlled manner for like 45 minutes to an hour just leaves me feeling the strongest, the most mentally clear, the best. Nothing against cardio. Fine, if that's your thing. For me, it typically leaves me more drained than energized. So I'll do some kind of cardio and some kind of sport or something like that, either later in the day, on the weekends, and so on. So that lasts for an hour. 6:30 a.m. is where I eat breakfast. Now, a lot of people talk about intermittent fasting. Basically, like don't eat for like a 16-hour window, then eat everything in an 8-hour window. Or some people do OMAD, one meal a day, and just have one meal there. This is fine for some people, and it's terrible for others. I have found personally, after experimenting and trying all kinds of different things, that I do need to eat. And if I eat and I fuel myself properly with good food, and I'll show you exactly what that looks like in a second, I perform significantly better, not just a little, like a lot. So intermittent fasting, fine. If you find that this taps into like awesome levels of clarity and focus and motivation and determination, by all means, go for it. It's not going to hurt you, provided you're getting enough nutrients and other times. But if you're like me, you might want and benefit from some food. Now, that said, there are certain kinds of foods that work incredibly well for me. So I make sure to eat these every single morning at 6:30. So what that is salmon, typically sockeye salmon. But as long as you're able to get wild salmon, cool. Stay away from farmed stuff. It's not going to have the same amino acid. It's not going to have the same omega ratios. There we go. Omega-3 to omega-6 ratios. Also avocado, which is typically through some kind of guacamole. Macadamia nuts. Also, this is probably the least masculine part of my day, but it's keto granola called Farm Girl granola. There we go. 2 R's. Oh, let's erase. We'll make that look nicer. Oh, we'll just leave it. We're going to go for it. Farm Girl. Really beating up this point. I don't know. I like this stuff. It's the kind that I really like is called salted caramel, but they've got a chocolate one as well. Sweetened with stevia. Tastes amazing. Low carb. Really good stuff. So I mix these two together with either mac milk, macadamia nut milk, or almond milk. If you can't get it, pistachio milk's good too. Then also a protein shake. The brand that I like right now is called Good Protein. But literally any kind of good, clean protein's fine. If you like whey, have whey. If you like pea protein, have pea protein. Doesn't matter to me. This is a judgment-free zone. But this is it. So salmon, avocado, mac nuts with keto granola, using this kind of milk in there. Good protein shake. And then there's also a combination of a million different kinds of supplements. So there's like fiber and probiotics. There's prebiotics. There's just a slew of different vitamins, NAD. I mean, it's a bit of a mess. Not mandatory. If you want to talk about like the 80-20 principle of getting the most amount from the least small things, I promise you all of your supplements, possibly even including the protein, these are just like a cherry on top. They're not necessary. In fact, literally waking up and having a cup of coffee and getting to work, that's the big $1 million moneymaker thing there. But anyways, so that's 6:30. That's breakfast. 7 a.m. Shower, get ready. 7:30 a.m. work, and work straight through till noon when it's lunch. Lunch, by the way, again, is some kind of lean protein, turkey, steak, and veggies, possibly with rice, depending on what I'm doing. So that, and maybe rice, but pretty much always some kind of lean protein and veggies. That's it. Now, between the hours of 7:30 and 12 noon are also where I get some of my absolute most productive time work done. Again, if I come back here to there we go, our Eisenhower matrix, I'm focused on important, not urgent activities. I'm focused on the things that are revenue generating activities. That's it. And what this means is that if I can get we'll say, we'll just keep it easy for math. 1 hour, first thing in the morning. Then I'll go through, obviously, work out, eat, see the family, get the kids dressed and off to school, have coffee with my wife, all the usual good things in the morning. But then I get from like 7:30, so 8:30, 9:30, 10:30, 11:30, another 4.5 hours. So now I've got 5.5 hours before noon. And what this means is that I can now take a good half hour, hour-long lunch, doesn't matter. And I've got another like 4 to 5 hours of very productive time in the afternoon as well. Now, you might notice that this is going to add up to more than an average 8-hour day, and that is true. The point is that, first of all, in the early stages of your business, you're going to gain a competitive advantage by working more and working harder and working longer. There's no way around it. Like, the more hours and time and energy you put into your business, the better results you're going to get. And there's a benefit of it by front loading them because they're going to compound over time. Now, for my business, what I do, first of all, I love working and doing this. So it's kind of the hobby and the thing that I do for fun anyway. But if it wasn't, and I wanted to take time off, I just would. And the beauty is like when you combine and you become as effective and as dialed in and you make sure you're getting your most important work done early, first thing before other things get in your way, it does allow you to take days, weeks, even months off without having a detrimental impact because you've just built up so much other quality content and resources and your pipeline's full and your funnel's good and all of that. So with that said, that was the entire morning routine. Wake up and work. Sure, there's a bit of journaling. There's a lot of planning. There's some food and nutrition and some exercise thrown in there. But what there isn't is just 2 hours of meditation, 6 hours of reading, all of these other things. I listen to an audiobook when I'm at the gym. That helps with some of the reading. Meditation, maybe 10, 15 minutes at the end of the day just to settle the brain down. There are other times that you can put these activities in, but you do not want them occurring first thing in the morning. You want to get as much high quality work done as humanly possible. And with that said, if you're looking to generate even more leads, clients, customers, sales, grow your agency to the next level and beyond, I'm going to link up a video right here that I think is really going to help with that. So make sure to check that one out now, and I'll see you in there in just a second.